Hello everyone, welcome back. Patrick here. In this video we are going to review RocketLab, which is in the space industry. Now when it comes to space, it is very speculative. We absolutely do not know in 10 years who the leaders are going to be, except for maybe SpaceX, which is already the big dog. But when it comes to space, I'm looking at it with a very long-term perspective, 10 plus years. So in this review, I'm not going to look into like the short-term momentum, which space doesn't have any right now, right? It is all about, is this company going to do well in 10 years? How do they fit in the space ecosystem? So I hope you guys enjoy it. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you right after the intro. Alright friends, in the past I reviewed NPA and Holicity. The links are in the description if you want to watch those reviews. Today I'm doing RocketLabs, and later on this week I will do Momentus and Black Sky. Now, why am I looking at the space industry right now? Well, I do think that this is an industry that's going to be fairly good in the future, but over the next decades, right? So right now it is very high risk, high reward. We really don't know who's going to succeed in this space, and because of that, you want to buy in very cheap. It is going to be a spec play, right? And the prices were too high before. Over the past few months, when there was so much speculation in the market, companies like Momentus that went to $28, I mean, it was just not investable at that point for me, considering the risks. Now the prices have dropped, like Momentus dropped 53% already, NPA 52, RocketLab 25%. So now I'm able to actually get a better cost basis if I want to start getting exposure to this industry, get myself some cushion, right, on the share price, so that if they are not doing that well, I'm not going to be losing as much. Second reason is the ARK Invest Space ETF that's coming out soon. They announced it in January, and everyone is wondering which companies are going to go into it, because Cathie Woods can move markets, and she's going to be investing billions of dollars in some of these small companies. Might not be enough to bring them back to their 52-week high, but it should at least help stop the bleeding somewhat. Now, if we get into RocketLab itself, it was underwritten at $4.1 billion. They're going to get $750 million at close. It should be EBITDA positive in 2023. They're going to get $470 million in pipe, and it should close in the second quarter. So my guess is probably in 1 month, 2 months from now, there's still time to open a position. Now, if I just summarize why I like the company, well, I do like the fact that they already have a track record of success. They have done 19 launches so far. I'm going to show you some of them later on. And also, they are vertically integrated. They're not just working on the launches or satellites or one part. They understand that if you want to be successful long-term in this industry, you are going to need to do a little bit of everything. So the company is positioning itself that way. They just recently bought a satellite company, right? So they want to really expand not only sideways, but also up and down. So they're going to be buying some of their suppliers. They're going to expand to more services. I like the fact that they want to be kind of a smaller version of SpaceX without Starlink, I suppose. Before I go any further, I want to bring your attention to this tweet by Sam Corus. Who is this guy? He is one of the main analysts for ARK Invest, specializing in the space industry. So he is the guy that we'll want to track when it comes to that ETF, especially since he's already tweeted about Momentus and RocketLabs. Now, what they like about this industry is that over the next decade, the costs are going to become much more affordable. The prices are going to come down, so it's going to be much more economically viable to send out rockets, satellites, build space stations, go back to the moon, all of those projects. Now, one of the main components of RocketLab over the past 3 years has been to use their small rockets Electron to deliver small payloads into space. So they've done 19 missions that were successful so far. This is incorrect. Over the past week, they had a successful mission that delivered 7 satellites, including one from Black Sky. So that was nice synergy there. But the issue with these small rockets is that, yes, they are more flexible. They can send them out much more frequently. They can deliver to a more precise location in space in the orbits, right? But on the flip side, since they have small payloads, it costs a lot more per unit. So this is why they are so excited about it, is that right now you have the small rocket companies like RocketLabs, Astra, you have Firefly, some other companies out there, but then you have SpaceX with the Falcon 9. However, in the next few years, we are going to see that race to bring much bigger rockets into play. That is going to really increase the payload capacity and lower the costs. You have the New Glenn in 2021 by Blue Origin that should lower the price per kilogram. And then you have the Starship by SpaceX they're testing right now, and they're going to try to bring it to the market by 2022, which would bring the payloads down to $500 per kilogram. And even then, Elon actually tweeted saying that at some point in the future, they think they can bring this to $100 per kilogram, which would really, really increase the viability of these projects in space. So Rocket Labs, if they only did the small rockets, well, it would be a niche market, right? They would be kind of cornered there. So what they did is they realized this. Now they're building their Neutron rocket, which is going to be a medium launch rocket, and that's going to allow them to cover about 98% of the needs of the industry when it comes to doing these space launches. Another crucial aspect of the business, which you might not know of, is the space services. Think about it. Bringing rockets into space and delivering payload is a massive accomplishment, no doubt about it. But at some point in the future, it is going to become more of a commodity. Because let's face it, customers are not really going to care whether it's a RocketLab, SpaceX, Astra, that's going to bring their payload into space. All they're going to care about is what's the cost and what's the success rate. So if you understand that, and like Rocket Lab, you're trying to be vertically integrated, you are going to provide a lot of added value. The launch business is going to be more of a niche thing, right? It's going to have limits to the amount of growth to it. However, the space services is going to grow exponentially in the future, because think about it. These satellites are going to need to be repaired. They are going to need to deliver goods to the space stations, to the moon, and elsewhere in the universe, right? So this is never going to shrink. This industry is going to grow over time. Now, also, a lot of their customers, their specialty is not designing and building satellites. They want the applications. So being vertically integrated is going to allow Rocket Labs to help their partners develop and build these satellites, and then they'll also bring them into space. Now, another thing too is that, how SpaceX has the Starlink, and that adds a lot of value to the company that since it's a private company, we don't know exactly, but you can assume that a large fraction of the company's value is from the Starlink network. Well, this company is not necessarily going to compete with the Starlink network, but because they have the capacity to develop their own satellites and then actually launch them into space, they can develop their own constellations and their own projects, either for themselves or for third parties that are going to pay them. So it's that flexibility that I like, and the fact that they're already planning ahead and will have access to all these different options to generate money. So how does all of this translate into revenues for the company? Well, this is a real company. That's the good news. They actually have a product, technology, a track record of success. They've been doing this since 2018, and they do have some real customers and some real revenues. So of course the revenues are still small, but at least the pieces are in place for this company to be successful in the future. And we know that we're investing in a real company, not just a business plan that's raising billions of dollars and may or not be successful in the future. So in 2021, they should generate 69 million in revenues, according to their projections, which we know is like whatever. In 2027, they would generate 1.6 billion, and the ratio between launch services and space services would be 60-40. So that's good to keep track of. Now, they have 90% of their bookings set up for this year, and we know for a fact that this is a legit company because just recently they had the They Go Up So Fast mission, which on March 23rd released 7 different satellites, including the Black Sky Earth Observation Satellite. So you can actually go online, watch the video. The company has real technology, and it is not vaporware. So if we look at their projected EBITDA and net cash flow, well, you'll see that their projected EBITDA would be 26 million in 2023. So the company is still going to be losing money for a couple of years, right? And then they think that they can get free cash flow in 2024 of 97 million. So over the next few years, I would assume that as they get economies of scale, as each customer gets more services from them, like the good old ARPU that I keep talking about, like if a company builds the satellites with Rocket Lab and as it launched, well, it's going to increase their margin and their revenues, right? So over time, they're going to increase their margin, they're going to start being more successful, and also they're going to get more revenues per user, and that's going to be fairly good for the company. All right, guys, in the wrap up, we have to look at the valuations and then what do I think about this company. So first, RocketLab is valued at 4.73 billion right now with a share price of 11.35. That has fallen 25% since the peak so far. This is on 69 million in revenues. Meanwhile, Astra, which is the closest company in terms of business model, the small rockets and everything, is at 2.64 billion on 4 million. This is with a 11.99 share price, and they have crashed 46% so far. So both companies, in my opinion, in terms of like their valuation based on their current revenue, is outrageous, but we are really focusing on long term here. Like this is the type of long shot bet where you're hoping that your $11 at some point is going to be worth $50, $100 10 years from now, right? So that's the way I see it. In my opinion, the risk versus reward right now is heavily skewed towards RocketLab because of the fact that they have a track record of doing this successfully, while Astra, even though I still think that they have potential in the future, but given the fact that right now they're still finalizing their prototypes and everything, I mean, I would rather pay a little less than double for RocketLab than 2.64 billion for Astra. But at least that's the way I see it. And I do think that RocketLab has a pretty good shot of being picked up by the ARK Invest Space ETF, which would really help it grow over the next few years. Now, if we look at the chart, I mean, it's pretty obvious that all these space SPACs have been getting absolutely crushed over the past few weeks. So currently there is no momentum. And because of that, I am looking to open a position in this company specifically, but I'm not in a rush to do so, right? I feel like in general, the space industry is so new. It's still very, very early to invest in it. So I am going to wait until this actually starts to bottom out. And when it does, I'm going to open a position. Hopefully it gets to $10, right? That's what's been happening with a lot of the SPACs lately. And then I'm going to open a small position. And then over time, you know, as they grow their revenues, I can just average up a little bit over time. So I don't want to keep all of my money locked into this one position and then it doesn't do anything for 5 years. So I'm going to start small, and over time I will probably build this position. So let me know in the comments what you guys do and think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm going to do Momentous and also Black Sky very soon.